I think we're live. We're live on the show. Oh, you're mute.
Oh my, the countdown has messed up my StreamYard again. Oh my. Okay, so I think you can hear me now. Maybe you can see me. I can't even tell. That's okay. I'm going to pretend you can. Hi, Fanny. Welcome. Welcome.
Hi, Dali. Thank you so much for having me, and I'll let you
Mhm.
know. I can see and hear you
Oh, good.
fine. I
Okay.
think it did do the mistake again, the 30
I think
seconds.
it did. I think it did. I used the countdown on some other shows, and but this one, I don't know
At
what's going
least with us.
on. I
Maybe
haven't
we
learned
don't
it.
we skip that next week. We jump live right away.
We'll figure it out. Today, we are talking with Dr. Fanny Anzai about an
I
idea.
hear the
Yeah, that's going to happen
okay.
because the thing still hasn't finished. It's the video that I played with the countdown is still buffering on my screen and
Oh my
hasn't
gosh.
released me automatically back into the main.
So it's worse than I thought because I
Yeah,
thought it was
StreamYard is still barfing for me, and uh, sorry,
no.
StreamYard, to give you a negative advertisement. Dang it.
Hey,
And
we
maybe it's
don't
something I'm
use
doing. Who
30
knows?
seconds countdown.
I don't know what the issues are. Anyway,
What's this on the
powering
screen?
through. Fanny and I both independently saw a video by Iseth Original. This is the lady who is connected with Logic. Uh,
That's it.
I think they're married, but whatever, doesn't matter. They are
Yes,
intimately related.
I think so. With kids and everything.
Nice, yes. Uh, anyway, Iseth Original was reviewing a video where some people living as Christian were exploring whether or not you had to believe a God in order to be or stay a Christian. So that's part of what we're reviewing today. And we might also just be reviewing the idea of it. We will go through the video a little bit and leave it to you if you want to watch the rest of it. Uh, and then we would like to dive right into the meaty goodness of the notion of can you be both atheist and Christian?
Yeah, their claim is that can you be a Christian atheist? And you want to go through the answers that we would give, even if we're not exposed to the video itself, and then we play a little bit of the video for people, for the audience.
Okay, so you'd like to go over some answers first. Is that correct? Uh, let's see. You'd like to.
Yeah, I would like to explore the. I think it's a good question.
Okay.
If we know to ask, can you be a Christian atheist? If there
Okay.
are people that believe they are living these lives, or some people claim that they live this life, and we explore that semantically and
Mhm.
practically speaking, because I've heard
Okay.
people say claim that, and I
Okay.
understand that maybe it's possible to do that in some way, but I wouldn't say that semantically it's impossible.
Then let's go through the claim before we pollute our minds with the video. Now, both you and I have seen the video, so we know what their claims were. But
Yeah.
I think we're sort of taking it independent of the video, and then we'll go reference the video. Does that work?
Yeah.
Make your claim. I saw that you had made some notes, so you already have nice wordage ready. I will try to type your wordage. Tell me what your claim is exactly.
The claim number 3 of our series now, it's can you be a Christian atheist?
That's a question. Is if it's a claim? Well, that's fine. We'll just instead we'll call it a question. We can type and spell at the same time. Weird. Okay, so it has to be capitalized or it shows up as
Good one.
shows up as a All right. Can you be a Christian atheist? All right. So if I look at this as an SC claim, the first thing I want to do is define all the terms. You, well, I think you means y'all or general plural, any of us. Could anyone be? Okay. So I don't think it refers
Yeah.
to whether it's me or you or you out there in the audience. Okay. Christian and atheist. Define one of those words for me first.
Yeah. The Christian would be the people who believe in Jesus Christ, like in a God, in a specific God that we know as Jesus Christ.
Okay. So I think I'm hearing Christian is defined by a belief in the deity of Jesus Christ, the godhood.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
God, yeah, the Trinity.
Right.
I don't want to, because I guess
I think
followers
I
of
would have to,
Christianity.
yeah, I think I would hear that somebody would say, believe in the resurrection and therefore the godhood. And I'm thinking, well, if I didn't believe the resurrection, but I still thought Jesus was a deity, would I still be a Christian? And I'm betting some persnickety people would say no, and other people would accept it.
Yeah, I think yeah, we're going to end up arguing a lot about the
Yeah.
semantics of where to draw those line when you start becoming an atheist. And some people like to say if you doubt anything, you already a step forward atheism. But
Uh-huh.
I would say that the Christian here would be everybody that believes and follows, would do the rituals of praying to a
Uh-huh.
personal God
Yeah.
as the one that from the Christian Bible, let's say.
Okay.
And the atheist would be the person who lacks believes in God.
Lacks belief in God is an
Yeah.
atheist. Okay. Without godness in their belief.
Yeah.
So, is there those do seem initially just on the opposite side because one side believes a God, the other side does not believe a God. In some sense, that's a binary thing. Do you believe? Do you not believe? In the middle, we have agnostics. We have I heard the term optimist, agnoptimist for someone who is
Atheists?
uncertain but tends to believe, chooses to believe while being uncertain.
Oh, okay. Okay. What is the term again? Sorry. That was
I forget who said it, but I liked it, so I stole it. Agnoptimist. It's a
agnoptimist.
portmanteau of agnostic,
Agnostic and optimist. Okay, cool.
agnoptimist.
Cool.
Yeah.
I really hope it exists, even if I don't have any evidence. So I pretend that it exists. So if it does, ta-da, go
Yeah.
have heaven, and I did everything right. Unless you go to the, unless you praise to the wrong God, and then you go
Mhm.
to hell anyways, huh? So it's not just believe there is some God. You have to know
Yeah.
which is the right
Yeah.
and praise that one.
Yeah. Sasha says Christianity is all or nothing in my experience. I agree. It is
I would.
mostly that.
I don't want to be that exclusionary, but I think I like the idea of the person that says, "Oh, I don't believe in the literal Bible." It's a
Uh-huh.
step forward into their atheism because it's a long process. It can take long. So
I've seen a lot of active Mormons who will claim a much less than 100% confidence and still functionally be Christian. As long as you're going to allow that Mormon can be Christian, they would say so. So if somebody wants to call themselves a thing, I want to agree that just generally, if you call yourself a Christian, you're a Christian. Sure, whether other Christians agree, separate question.
well, I just I just think that semantically
Personal.
it's a no for the can you be a Christian atheist because
Mhm.
you can't believe in God and then believe in God at the same time, right?
Right. You can't
Remember that
believe and disbelieve in God at the same time.
we have to remember, people here, that atheists are just the people that lack believes in all the
Yeah.
gods that exist, and not necessarily claim that there are no gods. So, because that is also quite
Atheism also
mistakenly.
includes those people. Strong
Yes.
atheists or anti-theists in the belief sense, as opposed to the, a political activist against theism. That's also an
Yeah.
anti-theist. Two different terms. But yeah, it would include that. There's also theists who are not Christians. A lot of them, actually.
Right. But
Uh,
I've seen people saying they are atheists because they don't really believe in a personal God, don't believe in any of the supernatural, you know,
yeah.
teachings of the Bibles, and but they still practice Christianity as going to church, family rituals,
Mhm,
and
mhm,
pretend they believe. So I think that is the yes, practically you can be a Christian atheist if you pretend to believe, but you understand that you're not a real Christian. So I think again goes against the claim, because you're not being a real Christian, right?
mhm,
You're just pretending, you're just doing, performing. Uh,
mhm,
so and then it then comes to their claims where they expose a little bit more, and I think we want to go through other definitions around those terms.
mhm, mhm. Okay. Uh, let's see, other definitions around those terms. It seems like we did just define all the terms and
You
come
want to go for the
to.
video?
We can, or I can see. The thing is, this has turned out to be a definitional claim. So you've given me all your reasons in your definition, and now you're saying you can't have a squared circle. You can't. There's.
Yeah.
You can't have a married bachelor. You can't have a Christian atheist by that strict definition of Christian, which is probably not even nearly as strict as most Christians would use. It's pretty. That's a pretty low bar. Um, so yeah, and it is an exclusive notion. So I hear it as a logical claim. By those definitions, so your epistemology that's how words work. That's how logic works. So cool. Agreed. I guess we do jump to the video. Let's have a look here. Stop this whenever you want to comment.
You know, Iseth, I've been doing some contemplation, and I think I've discovered something about myself. I'm an anarcho-communist.
What?
Yeah. I think the government shouldn't exist.
Oh.
Buffering. Oh,
But
no.
also support the government's authority to steal people's shit and restrict their freedoms. Especially if the shit that gets stolen then gets given to me.
Hardly sounds like anarchy if you endorse the state's use of power to take shit from.
Oh. It's going to be cutting on us like that.
Oh my. Clearly I need to get set up to download these ahead of time. That's obnoxious.
From people. Hardly sounds like something good too.
The way I see it, it's a matter of trust. If I just surrender my heart to the government and believe on faith in its benevolence, I can be assured.
Weird time for buffering, because this is actually a pretty funny line, I think. Oh my. Interruptions on.
Assured that one day the government will do the right thing and dissolve itself.
Uh-huh.
You know, I didn't always have this trust. I used to be doubtful for a long time about the good nature of the state, but as of late I've come to accept that the government cares about me and will do what I want it to do, so long as I endorse its authority.
And what exactly prompted...
Yeah, Sasha says a lot of Jewish people saying that they're Jewish culturally, but they're not religious. So they continue with the the social rituals. They continue with the, for the most part, the morality or the ethics common in that society. And they'll even go through the prayers and everything else, but just as a ritual, in the same way that we might all do the wave at a baseball game. Not assuming that there is a request for intervention, accessory response to our thing. A lot of the Jewish prayers that I used to do are like that. It's basically just a declaration about myself. Like, I want to say, I am free of any vows that I made with the such and such. So, like that. Actually, I'm not set up to download the video. That apparently takes software I don't have and haven't learned. And I don't have the kind of account on YouTube that just makes that trivial.
In your mind?
Oh, I've started watching cable news.
I, Makiva, have been a Christian atheist.
Oh my.
We keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I would say, in some sense, maybe a certain extension.
There's a paradox, but I really believe for a long time that I, Makiva, have been a Christian atheist.
Okay.
Well, it does sound like a paradox to the people.
So, if she's making the claim that she is functionally, or she is sufficient. Chase says there are websites for online downloading. We'll have to figure this out after the show. Sorry, I just distracted myself answering, and I'll come right back. She's making the question. Gina is saying there's a gatekeeping. If we try to, especially since you and I are not Christians, therefore us defining Christianity at most is us observing what other Christians say, and maybe what I would have said in the past, and like that. So yeah, let's see if we could listen to what someone who identifies this way would say.
Well, I think I've talked to Tim Moine, for example, and in a conversation with Alex and me, in one of the long interviews we had, probably the last one, conversations, he mentioned that he's an atheist because he doesn't really believe, but he practices Christianity, and in that sense, like I said, I think you're just not a real Christian. You're pretending you're a Christian.
Right.
You're essentially an atheist. In this case that we're going to watch, in her case, she makes a different claim. It's a different practice. I think even like the Jewish people that say, oh, I just do this for traditions, but I don't go home and before going to bed, I pray to a personal God to change the things in my life. I guess it could be you're a Jewish traditionalist, but atheistic in your beliefs. Yes, but let's watch the video if it's going to play now.
Define atheist as a person who doesn't believe in a God.
Oh, good grief. I'm going to have to work that out later. This is just impractical.
And Christianity has people who do believe in a Christian God.
Am I overheating my poor little computer? Who knows what I'm doing? I don't know why this is an issue. So, sorry. Not going to do the video.
That's fine.
I invite you to go watch the video. The link is in the description, and I will have to figure out how to solve that problem for the future. Thank you, Chase, for the input. I'll figure that out. So what would Can we steelman the side of someone who would declare themselves both an atheist and a Christian? In the case of Makiva, I guess I could talk about her notion that
Yeah.
she essentially calls herself what I call a deist. She says that,
Exactly.
I'm not sure if she uses the term, but she describes that a god or gods existed. Sorry, a god exists or existed because the god no longer has to exist in that model. Created the universe and then leaves it alone. Hasn't interceded in the details of the universe except to start it. And then, of course, there's the deist that's really thinks that the entire universe is deterministic and God knew how it was going to go and it was a specific, perfect plan. Therefore, doesn't need to intervene, that kind of thing. And then there's the deist who says it's not that important. God is just letting us work it out. There's a whole range.
Yeah, I thought her claim was wrong because she explains that she believes in God, and she just says that she believes in a deistic way, as you mentioned. So it's just a different definition. She's like, I pray, but I don't think God will personally answer to my claims, or I don't hope so. I don't expect that is gonna happen, but she still believes in a God. So in fact, she can't be an atheist. She's definitely a Christian. She might not be what she understands, as she doesn't understand all the gradations of being a theist, but she's still a theist in my opinion. And that's where I think we maybe disagree, because there are people that say you being a deist to believe there was a God at some point made everything and disappeared, or God is nature, a pantheist or a deist, it's already a step forward to be an atheist. Some people will pass through those stages to become an atheist, and other people
Yeah.
will just stand there forever saying like God is only one. People call
Yeah.
them different, or God would not answer their personal claims, or don't care about personal claims, which I think I was always in question of people praying or telling us to pray, because if God has the best plan, why would you pray to change it? You have to just trust him, no? So
Yeah.
praying is something kind of like
Yeah.
goes against the
Some
idea.
people redefine praying like meditating on what do you think the will of God is. Could you get some understanding, not asking for God, but asking God to just communicate to you or let you know what the plan is or how best you could fit within the plan, kind of the thy will be done mode. And they get away with the whole quest. They then have a get out of miracles free card. They don't have to ever demonstrate intercessory anything. That works. That works okay. I have found I observe a trend in people who leave religion going through a redefining God phase that lasts anywhere from months to years. And deism is one of the steps on there. Panentheism is there. God is within you is there. And they go from the Judeo-Christian God to a much less defined God, because they keep finding reasons why the Judeo-Christian God has there's claims about that they no longer can accept. So they say, okay, the God is not this anymore. And no, but what is God? And they'll expand it into these other realms. And pretty soon God is all of us. And I say, okay, I'm a theist. I believe in the universe too. I really do. I know it's only a Pascal's wager. I couldn't tell if we were in the Matrix, but I'm just going to operate my life according to the strategy that what I see is what I'm dealing with, while looking for opportunities to find any way in which there's a glitch in the Matrix. If I can ever find a glitch in the Matrix, I could exploit it. Anyway, but until then, I'm going to trust that the ontology that I observe and I am well informed is the one I'm operating with, and any other strategy would be silly, right? Okay. That was my
I like
soapbox.
it. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. I think we might agree on that quite strongly.
Yeah, indeed. So, Could somebody call themselves a deist atheist and get away with it?
Well, I guess according to some people, considering that you still believe God, but just to not believe in the literal Bible or to not believe in the personal God, it's already a step on atheism. Then I guess it could be claimed.
Yeah, I'm saying, what if?
That definition then end up falling all into the semantics, I guess.
Yeah. What could somebody strongly declare themselves to be an atheist while not accepting science Big Bang cosmology? What if they have another cosmology? They said aliens did it. Would that qualify as atheism?
Yeah, I guess because the definition of atheism is just lack of believing God. So it's like, oh, I don't follow any God, I don't believe any God, but I believe in something other supernatural thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
we would not call it a skeptic or agnostic, but it's
Yeah,
still called an atheist. Yeah.
atheism is happy to include agnostics in terms of that. You don't have to be a strong atheist to be called an atheist, certainly. Gosh, now I'm thinking about examples of people being called atheists in history where I would not agree that they are atheists at all, like with Socrates.
I've seen a lot of people calling themselves atheists or saying that they, at some time and point in life, they were atheists, and I would not agree. I don't think that the Scotsman, no true Scotsman fallacy or gatekeeping. I think is the fact that the words have definitions, and we cannot deny. If you say you don't believe God, but you want to deny to be an atheist, it's like, sorry, but you're still an atheist.
I was a Christian until essentially, and then I was a bad Christian, and until I essentially converted to Judaism in 2000. So I look at this thing very, very differently. I think when you're defining Christian, you have to start from the New Testament. That if you don't accept the New Testament, you're something else.
Well,
that can't
the
be
one
Christian.
thing I might argue, if you could watch the video, is when she talks about just having this Christian life or Christian morals, because I feel like the Christians and other religious people want to claim those moral values that would be secular as religious moral values, which came much before, like the values of not kill, not steal, not the property and rights and individual rights. It's something secular and came much before religious, and despite the double standards in religious teachings. So I don't agree with if you're good, that is being Christian. I think it's just saying if
Right.
you're polite, it's a white trait, like and it would be a racist position to take. And I think religious people I hear all the time from left to right. It's like people trying to say, oh yeah, the Christian way of living, the Judeo-Christian. There is a very good video from PragerU that he tries to claim those type of things, that the Judeo-Christian values, and it's like, no, it came much before. Yeah. The Christian values, the Judeo-Christian values, and despite the Judeo-Christian values come with a double standard of values, that don't kill, don't steal unless from your enemies, then it's okay. And I think that they have all
Yeah, I think almost all laws are about here's a thing that we generally want to have none of. This is banned with these exceptions. And almost everything we have these exceptions. We talk about self-defense versus murder. These exceptions play out at every level.
And then for the people that really want to find the real God, to go to heaven or to avoid hell, I think it's a big question that they have to answer to themselves if they are really seeking for that truth. If they really following just the first God they were presented to, or if they really have explored the opportunities, because there's a ton of gods out there for to
For sure.
send them to hell if they are really afraid of the fires of hell or
Yeah.
whatever happens there.
I I think hell is almost entirely a New Testament idea. I think if you look only at the Old Testament, you don't come to the conclusion that there is an afterlife or some eternal punishment. So,
And I
yeah.
think maybe people are not so afraid of hell in maybe they are just afraid. I had this conversation with Alex recently because he's more on the spiritualistic idea of I want that there is something else out there, like that hope. And I remember when going through this, trying to find the real God, I went to different churches, read different books from different doctrines in spiritism, believe souls and other stuff, and or wanted to believe that there is something out there, and we wanted to find. And I think it's a little bit of that. I always tell him, go watch The Invention of Lying from
Oh,
Gervais,
yes.
which is like the best answer for why everything, all this, all why we have so many religions, why there are so many beliefs that there is something after, because it's comforting, because it's not a comfort idea to think of our ending, the end of everything that you build, all your years and your experiences, and that everything is just gone. But it's the most plausible possible explanation, and it's just uncomfortable, and people feel they need that. Like, I want to believe there is something, that I'll go somewhere, that I will leave something behind. It's like, well, that's why you have your work, you have kids, we have been leaving things behind. That's why we have all this modernity. We live in such a future, good future, with all the things we have, is because we are humans able to collect information, pass over generations, build the structures, and the knowledge that we're able to accumulate and pass over generations is something much more fantastic, science, than whatever obscurantism of the religious answers, or one book that would probably answer everything, I guess. So of course, I guess most of religious people, still have, I guess, freedom to go search for all these other answers, even if they are not curious.
Well, whether those answers would fit their epistemology is the issue. If your
Exactly.
epistemology
Yeah.
is scripture has a special epistemological level above everything else, then why would you even bother looking for anything else? Especially if you've got sola scriptura, the belief that everything that you need, everything that is relevant, is in scripture. Not just scripture is relevant for everything, but nothing is more relevant than scripture for anything.
Yeah, I think the early indoctrination, religious indoctrination, it's a type of brainwash that is really difficult to break out of it. So yeah, I think it just makes me think that I'm like all focused for this interview tomorrow, which kind of like makes a little bit of the sense we're talking about here. I want to show people, for those who like book clubs, I'm reading The Uncultured, from this lady, Daniela Mistianek Young, and it's a sex cult survivor, but very religious. You might have heard of the Children of God. So she just released this book, right, in 22nd, I think, September 22nd. And I will interview her tomorrow. So I'm super excited. It's, of course, the book is very intense. And it made me cry, because it's not just physical abuse, it's sexual abuse, and all, the psychological abuse. And her writing is just amazing to show, to expose that in such a cheerful way, I would say. After all, Yeah, so I'm super excited. Can't wait.
Sasha says that
And
religion.
today we still have so many people oppressed, killed,
Mhm.
subjugated daily because of religious cults and crazy beliefs, huh? So it's definitely important to talk about.
It's easy enough to point out what the bad that we associate with religion. It's kind of easy to point out the good as well, and then a lot of us would argue, yeah, but we would do that anyway, kind of thinking. Sasha thinks that religion is given to the slaves by their masters so they don't rebel in their inequalities about wealth and suffering. It's easy to get behind that theory or that hypothesis, and I am compelled to it a bit. Although I would have a hard time understanding if the masters actually had that intention, or if this was more of because it worked, it stayed.
Well,
it was
I would say
persistent.
that I've read in the history, there are history books that put in that way, at least for Brazilian colonization. They say that they wanted to evangelize the Indians, which they call Indians at that time, the natives, the Aboriginals, and the slaves, the black slaves, because they believed they were not hard workers. They were lazy because they didn't have religion and the discipline of religion. And at some point was an amicable evangelization until they would refuse, and then there was much more of evil for not accepting the religion, torture, and even using disease with the intention to
It's part of their
decimate
thing, especially at the time. Anybody who was an unbeliever, or I don't know what all the words would be used, and not trying to hook atheist onto it necessarily, although that was the idea. But if you were an unbeliever, heretic, you were dangerous to the mortal souls of people. Therefore, no punishment could be too great. Killing would be normal. So if they already were picking people out of their own society like little cancers because of heresy, the idea that someone that you attempted to evangelize that rejects is a heretic squared. And they have huge power within their own community to interfere with your evangelical efforts. So if you believe that heresy is a death sentence, war on heretics, that's righteous stuff.
And the idea of the religious zealots on culture war, Alexander Adams talks a lot about that, with the kind of like a mass formation psychosis of creating a common enemy, and that the super orthodox religious people, independent of their sex, what they believe is that, let's say, Jesus didn't come back because not all of us believe, or because not all of us doing God's work. So they need to exterminate, eliminate this threat that is, if I cannot convert you, I need to destroy you. And you can see that, which is for me the part of all the collectivist mindsets that or like that they want to exterminate. There is no way to coexist with any dissent. I recently watched a video from McKellen going to the Taliban in Afghanistan, and the guy, the terrorists, let's say, with the guns and celebrating and yelling Sharia law and Allahu Akbar and all the things. He interviews them and asks them, and they say, we don't want to just be left alone to do the Sharia here, but we will spread it to the world. So they need to, it's the Puritans, it's like they need and change everybody or exterminate them. It's like kind of the part that I fear, the communist collectivist ideas in general.
So communism is a problem because it could lead to totalitarian purges.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm with you. Anything that has totalitarian purges in it, I don't want any of that. Whether it's got nice theories or not attached to it. By the way, I'm not actually personally very warm to communism or Marxism. At most, I have tried to learn enough about it to be tolerant. I'm not at all compelled. Although the communism, like at the level of like the kibbutz in Israel and the intentional communities, the intentional opt-in communities that are communistic, to me just seem like a taking the normal family arrangement and expanding it to encompass your whole support network, and that seems to be pretty okay. Capitalism is tyranny. Yeah, a little bit. I agree, though. I don't. At some point, Chase, we should have a show where you talk to me all about the communism capitalism thing.
Yeah, I might disagree. I
That's
think
okay.
capitalism allows communistic societies and groups, but the communism would never allow any type of capitalism inside it. So that's why I think there is a good difference, and the tyranny is in the communism for sure. And the
Okay.
capitalism seems to be unfair, let's say, or tyrannical to people that doesn't succeed, and seeing that they seem to view wealth source and production as a limited amount of it, and that they really need to go and split artificially. And I think there's a lot of more ways to produce source and value and wealth. And
Yes, you can just build more
then
factories.
sometimes with just your work, you can just go to the supermarket, buy a bunch of ingredients, produce some food and sell, and you're creating value in it.
Sure,
and
doing
doing
value
it.
add.
So it's not like a plastered the way that we live nowadays, which is not a real capitalism, because we live in the free market corporativism,
Sure.
right?
None
The
of
idea
these
that we
ever
live
have
in
a
a
pure example.
capitalism.
There is no pure example of anything in this regard.
Exactly, but the point of the capitalism would be we would let if we had a capitalism, a free market capitalism, we would free market capitalism.
I dropped you. I don't know if it's on my end or yours.
I could
Could
hear
you
a
repeat the
little.
last sentence? Oh, I'm hearing a little crackle.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you from rest. Yeah.
Leaving, come back? Oh, now you're clear. Let's go on with it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Can I keep going? Okay.
Yes.
So I think if we had a free market capitalism, we would let the bad business bankrupt, and we would have a more equal opportunity and not give benefits to big factories, but that dismantle a lot of the system the way that's built today. And some people were like, oh, I hate capitalism the way it exists, and it would not be okay to destroy unions or benefits and lobbies and give benefits to some companies and factories. So it's it's a complicated question, if how far you want to go to transform this in a free society, economically speaking. And of course that would start with bank states complete separation, because we understand that the money machine, the printing money machine, it works very counterintuitively the way that people are using United States nowadays. The government have used printing more money and devaluing the
Sure.
economy.
What if we eliminated money? Everybody trade for actual things, which might be stock in a commodities chunk, might be stock in a company, might be fractions of ownership of a piece of real estate.
Well, I think the solution might be a strong cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, not like all the other cryptocurrencies that can be manipulated by the governments, taken and manipulated. but it still has a lot of hesitance nowadays. People don't understand the way of using. It's not yet a trading coin. It has been used more as an investment, and the volatility of it has being very scary. And I would say that poor people, like at least like me, can only wish one day to have enough money to invest, but
Mhm.
we cannot take a portion of our salary to save and hold, which
Mhm.
is the part where we all just getting poorer as they print more money, with now the milkshake theory, the way that the dollar is kind of like sucking all the value out of the entire market internationally now, with
Mhm.
the less more artificial ways to limited money. So for me, the if you look at the big picture, if you zoom
Mhm.
out, all the problems that have been caused is because of this attempt of artificially manipulate the economy, and that is
Mhm.
the part we should eliminate for sure on the government.
The artificial
We need to
manipulation of
be
the economy.
secular in the finances too. Okay, separation of bank states, just like church
Do you,
states.
s- do you see replacing it with cryptocurrency as a better solution?
For the people, yes, because then the idea of the Federal Reserve, they would have value, they would have influence on on some money, but not in the main
Mhm.
main source, let's say. But it's a long transition, I believe. Will be a long transition.
Right.
Now, I think this what you said about trading product service. I
That
think there
yeah,
are
trading
communities.
actual stuff with actual tied to it value.
Yes, I think there are communities, or there is a community in the United States where they have tried, or they do that.
Did
It's like,
barter?
is that the Venus Project?
I'm not sure.
I think so.
I'm not well
A
educated in
commune that they would try
yeah.
to trade, go back to an old type, and try to break this whatever would be the evil part of the capitalism, because there is something of like the consumption and production that they try to push on, like
Yeah.
people consume more and not produce things that value or less that long as would be in the past, with the intention of selling more, or not, you know have at some point everybody has whatever they need and they don't need to buy anymore. In this economy would be different, because if you trade products, of course you're going to try to offer the best, and that should be maybe the
So
altruistic side that we don't have in the economy, in this idea of the capitalism of increasing profits.
mhm. So Chase suggests, I think, abolish the class system, replace the money. No, I'm sorry. This is the Venus Project that Chase is referencing, so I don't know his position on it. Abolish the class system, replace the money with a resource-based economy where everything is free for everyone. We volunteer to work to keep that great society functioning. Volunteer support of the main thing. That was one of those libertarian things that you were talking about.
I have heard of Venus Project a long time ago. I heard that there were communities working well and with a very futuristic and environmentalist uh, like solutions. And I don't know. I guess, like I said, as libertarians, all this is quite of like tiptoeing new stuff. Things for
Mm,
the future, I guess.
yeah. Yeah, so Gandhi thinks the world has enough to fill its needs, but not the greeds of people who want too much. So I guess Gandhi is to a degree defining greed as taking more than your 8 billionth, if we're 8 billion humans or something like that. Yeah, so the Venus Project is communism. Cool. I would like to learn about this Venus Project, because idealistically, I think communism can work on a small scale. I think I have examining. I think I have examined good examples. I'm falling over my words. Yeah, indeed. Okay, well, so we've talked about Christians and atheism, and then communism and libertarianism and voluntarism and dealing with the money issues and that kind of thing. And we haven't mentioned Liz Truss once or the Great British Pound. How did we manage that? Thank you, Fanny. Do you have more to talk about?
No, I think we're good for today. If you want to finish here, we keep more subjects and topics for next week. Oh, we have this.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, so when dictators call themselves communists, they are lying. Certainly, that seems to be the trend. I can't think of a counterexample.
No, because the communism is trying to make everybody the common, the same, and then there is a collectivism over individualism that would destroy the dissents and force everybody. So the coercion is the thing here. That yes, Trudeau here, it's a type of authoritarian, and I would put in the communists on the idea of the vaccines or mask mandates or jab mandates, or you have to have this and that, how many boosters. It's it might not be like a full communism, and many people, the communists itself, they like to say, oh, never existed communism, that's why it didn't work. And I don't know, the communism of this voluntary communism that they would do in the Venus Project, I think it could work. Like I said, it's a small scale, and even the attempts of more libertarian, I think the right way and probably the best place to try those experiments is United States, because you guys have certain more local freedom, more, the state already has a power to say no to some things, and to to not go with the entire country or the other states around. So it's a good way to try those things and collect data results and see what works the best, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, the U.S. could be a good place. I think the U.S. is very consumerist oriented, and there's things like building codes and employment law that interfere a little bit, but actually not all that bad.
We subsidize a lot of companies in each of our countries. We're not gonna let whatever go out of business, and I think that is very against our interests. And they claim that it's for the interest of all. Like, no, you want, but I would say that capitalism would be better in that sense, because people take risks and they should go out of business if the business cannot sustain itself, and not depend on everybody to have some business running, bailing out business that are unsuccessful. And people, like, there are people that their business is to create failed companies to suck out of the government. That is pretty much what they do.
If the notion is that
guys that work
you win in either case,
make
the risk
money
is no
just in
problem.
pumping and dumping on the stock market or like cryptocurrency. So it's like,
yeah, Trevor
you
Milton
should not give incentives for them to do it. I'm just saying, maybe it's really hard to work against this natural movement, and we'll always have people, like, we're always going to have criminals, let's say, okay?
Sure.
But we should not be incentivizing politically for people to do anything like that. And the governments are really
I'm
not
looking
here
forward
to
to Trevor Milton getting the book
best
thrown.
of us, like our best interests. And I mean, as individuals, to have that same chance.
And before I change the whole subject and bring in things like Trevor Milton, forcing justice is necessary. Okay, then we have to define justice. And when is that? Class system destroys social harmony. The rich convince the middle class to hate the poor. Oh, interesting.
Interesting.
That is
a lot of classes the other way. But I don't know. I never really fell for this type of political biased teaching in schools to say that there is a class that is in power that wants to keep the other class poor,
Uh-huh.
or in the same way I wouldn't say that, because that creates a lot of, let's say, poor people, honest people that will hate rich successful people in a kind of a blind way. I don't think we should have that type of classicists, because there's a lot of people that got there because they deserved, they took
That's
the
exactly
risk.
the same thing as defining. You just defined it in both directions. It's the same thing. We shouldn't have a class. We should have. Sorry.
No, we have the classes. Economy
There's
is something
symmetry.
that is supposed to have a gradation. Not everybody. If you just print $1 million to give to everybody, $1 million will not worth anything. It's not that everybody's going to be happy and millionaire, be able to buy everything. That is what AOC, Biden, Pelosi might think. That's why they keep printing dollars without knowing they're just devaluing the money. But we we recognize their classes. I just don't think there is this war of classes the same way I don't think there is a war of sexes. I think that is a little bit more of the constructed fake war, like a hoax to just convince people to be against each other, something like that. And
So
then they
what
don't think about the important things to be done about it.
Sure. Do you think the caste system is an example in the past? Caste system in India is an example in the
Oh my
past
gosh.
of a class, one class is exerting power over other classes?
No, I don't think there is any relation. I think the caste is horrible. It still exists. It should definitely, they need to reform that in India. But no, because we see that the classes are very mobile in between their generations, from parents to grandparents to kids, or parents to kids. People get rich and people get poor all the time. And the castes, I don't think you can change.
Okay. So
Just saying.
Chase brings up the question of slaves. Do you think that we had this kind of class or caste, or whichever you want to call it, a group of people in power over another group during pre-Civil War America, the U.S.?
For which reason?
Because the black people weren't allowed to own anything or even really be not slaves mostly.
Like this claim, most rich people inherit their money often from ancestors who owned the slaves. I would say, like, wow, you would have to prove that correlation.
Right. I don't need to worry about that correlation. I want to
Yeah.
ask the underlying question is pre-Civil War United States an example in history of a group of people holding power over another group of people?
Well, it might have had that. I just don't understand the pattern that we could make in reality to say.
It's a class system. In this case, the white class versus the enslaved class back in history.
Then would not explain why so many white people are so poor too. There are more poor white people than black people,
Yeah,
Like,
it wasn't actually
it's
all
just-
white people. It was the wealthy white people who had slaves, or the wealthy white people who maybe if they didn't have slaves had factories that were supplied by cotton picked by slaves, things like that.
I think the problem with this slavery nowadays, when we talk about the type of like reparations or recognition of like some type of advantage that went through generations, it would be something easy for governments to track that back and then not become some type of like color distinction, because there's a
Right. We made it illegal. We are trying to stomp it out, and anytime we find it, it's at least lawsuits, if not the Justice Department getting involved. So we've definitely swung the other direction to where we don't want to allow slavery. When you're saying there is no class, something, no power thing that you recognize, I'm looking for how far back in history I have to go to find an example.
Yeah, I don't want for me it's difficult, because then how we're going to make that distinction? Only the people who own the slaves, their generations, their descendants are not supposed to be rich, and if they are, we should go there and take their money and give to the poor people in general, or just to the families of the descendants of the families of the ones that were enslaved at that time. You know, like
So
from in the
if we
practical
accept that there
level.
was, that would imply reparations are due?
No, I would assume that's the end of the thing, or
Okay.
you know, to do. Why would you find out? Okay, this guy, he's rich, but it's definitely because he, you know, he bought a hot dog cart, and then from that he opened a little store, and then from that he bought a bigger store, and then we can see he grew slowly by working. But some people would even say that he still abused his workers. When it comes that thing of like the workers are not well paid, I always think people have like a distortion of what is this value that the employees are giving to the company, what are the risks that are taking for moving it forward. And that is what many people seems to dismiss on the side of the guy that succeed.
I
That's
totally
why
want to
very
bookmark in that
few
one.
are rich and less even millionaires, billionaires.
I want to put a bookmark in that one because that's a claim that Chase made, was that the workers are exploited because they get only an insufficiently large fraction of the value of their labor. And that's a show. That's a show on its own. Yeah.
I don't think I should be taking any part of anybody's company. If tomorrow they give me a chance to work there, I would be like, thank for the $20 hour, 25, 30, whatever, you know, because I understand that I'm not bringing more than that value to the company. So I think it's kind of
If you're not, they're failing.
Exactly. I have to at least
if they are
create
paying
that
you
much.
everything that you're worth, they're going to go bankrupt.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the poor, you know, honest guy that made the company, then it comes to like, I think people are not empathetic to the other side when they put this. I think we can empathize with both sides. We understand that there are kids to be fed, both families, and there are different struggles.
You
know, but yeah,
I'm gonna go figure out how to download videos.
And let's keep this conversation for now, because it can just
because we'll start a second, and it'll be like that. And Chase is continuing to throw in excellent claims. It's like show after show after show because there's a lot there. There's a lot of good rich stuff.
There's a lot of good ones to come. Yeah.
So, Wave and the AI will end the broadcast.